His wife noticed her 220-pound husband had suddenly started acting different. He stopped using her dad's dying wish as leverage to make her be a good wife. He stopped throwing fits to mark his territory. No more blocking her from seeing his childhood sweetheart, who'd just come back from overseas, sick and fragile. Even when she called him too fat to be seen in public, gave him the cold shoulder, and refused to be intimate, he stopped begging. He just left early, came home late, barely said a word to her. Nobody knew what he was up to. She figured he was playing games again, the whole hard-to-get act. But what she didn't know was, I was reborn. In my past life, I was fat, broke, and people looked down on me every single day. But the CEO of the biggest clothing trading company in the city, Shen Yubin, came to me 3 years ago and asked to marry me. I was over the moon. I figured she'd noticed me while I fixed her computer part-time. My work ethic, my skills. So we got married just like that. But after the wedding, she wanted nothing to do with me. She even hung a thick curtain down the middle of our bedroom. I just told myself it was the weight thing. I figured if I worked hard enough, did all the chores, even snuck onto her company's servers at night to patch security holes and optimize supply chain code, I'd eventually melt that ice queen. Then everything changed when her childhood sweetheart, her first love, Chu Tianquo, came back from overseas. He fronted like he was launching an e-commerce venture and tricked Shen Yubin into mortgaging the company's core assets. Then he pressured me to hand over the only thing my mom left me, a historic house right in the city center. I flat out refused. So Chu Tianquo rigged the company's financial system to frame me for embezzlement. Shen Yubin didn't even investigate. She just showed up with cops and dragged me out of the house. Cold as ice, she told me we were divorcing. That's when I found out. She only married me because her dying father forced her to repay a debt owed to mine. I rotted in prison, humiliated every day, and eventually died from late-stage liver cancer behind cold iron bars. And on the day I took my last breath, she and Chu Tianquo were having their lavish wedding. But fate gave me a second chance. I was reborn back in 1998. Just yesterday, Chu Tianquo checked into the hospital with some so-called adjustment sickness. Shen Yubin's mom, Zhao Quilin, came at me again at the dinner table. She said I was an eyesore around the house and demanded I hand over my mom's old place so Chu Tianquo could use it as his startup office. Then she had the nerve to say, Zhou Yuan, with a body like yours, you're never gonna amount to anything. All you do is sit there clicking on that broken computer. Just sign the house over to Tianquo. He's an overseas elite. He'll take care of you when the money comes in. Yubin would love that too. I'd had enough. I slammed my chopsticks on the table. Mom, if you want Chu Tianquo as your son-in-law that badly, fine. Have it your way. The house? Not happening. But I'll divorce Shen Yubin. The second those words left my mouth, Zhao Quilan froze. Then her eyes lit up with barely hidden excitement. You serious, Fatso? You really gonna walk away from everything the Shen family's got? I laughed coldly, about to nod. But then, Shen Yubin's face went dark. She shot up and grabbed my wrist. Zhou Yuan, what the hell are you saying? Then she turned to her mom, just as cold. Mom, our relationship is our business. Stay out of it. The house, we'll deal with that later. She said her piece, tuned out Zhao Quilin's screaming, dragged me out of the mansion, and walked all the way down the tree-lined path before she finally let go of my wrist. She turned around, brow furrowed, looking down at me with barely concealed irritation and disgust. Zhou Yuan, are you seriously pulling another stunt? Using divorce to threaten my mom? You know my dad made me swear on his deathbed. No divorce for 3 years. You're just twisting the knife on purpose, aren't you? I rubbed my wrist where she'd grabbed it, looked her dead in the eyes, completely calm. Shen Yubin, I'm not bluffing. I'm not playing games. I mean it. Let's get divorced. Shen Yubin froze. She stared at me for a long moment, like the emptiness in my eyes had actually rattled her, then let out a cold laugh. Zhou Yuan, don't think I don't know what you're trying to pull. You're mad because I spent the night at the hospital with Tianquo, aren't you? I made a promise to my dad. I married you, and I'm keeping that promise. I have never once thought about divorcing you in these 3 years. Don't push your luck. I just gave a bitter smile. Never thought about it? The audacity. I knew exactly what was coming. In my past life, at the end of this very month, Chu Tianquo set his sights on my house. To grab it clean, he faked evidence that I cheated with a female coworker. Shen Yubin didn't even let me explain. She just threw the divorce papers in my face. She looked at me like I was garbage. Zhou Yuan, I am done with you. You're disgusting to look at, and your character is just as rotten. My father's debt is paid. Get out of this house. In my past life, I spent every last breath trying to prove I was innocent. She didn't want to hear a single word. This time, I wasn't going to chase that. I didn't argue. I just counted the days. Less than 20 left before she'd throw those papers at me again. And this time, I wasn't getting on my knees, crying and begging her to stay. I'd sign those papers without flinching. Do whatever you want. I tossed out those words and walked off into the dark. Behind me, Shen Yubin looked like she almost stomped her foot. But a woman as proud as her wasn't about to chase someone she looked down on. After that, I moved out of her room completely and into a storage room on the first floor. And then I got to work. Full throttle. One thing was crystal clear. In this era, money and power are a man's biggest cards to play. It was 1998. The internet in China was just starting to take off. Internet cafes were popping up everywhere on the streets, but every single management and billing system was completely outdated. The allowance Shen Yubin had been tossing me every month, I never touched it. It had piled up to 1,500 yuan, every cent I'd spent living under the Shen family's roof over 3 years. Once I earned back that 1,500 yuan and paid her off, I could walk away clean, no strings attached. I was grinding every single day. Before sunrise, I'd throw on my beat-up tracksuit and run 10 kilometers around the artificial lake outside the villa complex. At first, my 220-pound body felt like it was packed with lead. I couldn't even hit 1 kilometer without my lungs feeling like they'd explode. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw myself dying in that prison cell. I gritted my teeth and kept going. After the run, I'd head straight to the secondhand computer market downtown and picked up a barely functional old desktop with the last few hundred yuan I had. I cleaned up the storage room and set up shop. Armed with 20-plus years of top-tier programming experience from my past life, I started hammering the keyboard day and night. What people in 1998 would have called an impossibly complex internet cafe billing system. For me, it was maybe 2 weeks of work. I built a flawless auto-billing system and threw in anti-piracy protection, a one-click restore feature, and a LAN gaming menu on top. In just 20 days, the brutal mental grind and strict diet had a result that was almost scary. I dropped a full 60 pounds. The bloated 220-pound version of me was completely gone, down to 140 pounds of solid build. With the fat off my face, you could actually see my features now. Sharp brows, defined eyes, a jawline that looked carved out of stone. I only noticed when my pants got so loose I couldn't keep a belt on. I wrapped up the day and walked out of the city's biggest chain internet cafe into the golden hour. Today, I'd sold a software called Spark Billing to the owner, Brother Wang, for a flat 50,000 yuan.